So now, as we mentioned last week, we're going to have a weekly quick tips section, and it's going to be a regular feature of our shows going forward. So this week we're going to have some tips for fans of Siri, as well as quite a useful one for Windows users as well. And JP and Daniel are going to be covering this week's quick tips for us. So what do you have for us this week, JP?
Yeah, hi Jude. So yeah, that's right. So there are some pretty noticeable changes to Siri in iOS 14 that I thought we could mention this week. Now there's a few to mention, but there's one I'm going to focus on specifically, which is sending audio messages using Siri. Just for anyone who uses Siri quite regularly, they might be interested in some of the other changes that have been made. Probably the biggest change to Siri in iOS 14 has been its new compact interface. So whereas in the past, when we would have activated Siri, it would have taken up the whole screen on the iPhone or the iPad when it was activated. Now it's displayed as an orb at the bottom of the screen. So the idea here is that it allows like a sighted user to use other apps on the device while Siri is active. Just to briefly go through some of the other changes people might be interested in. For example, what you can do with the new version of Siri is that you can share your ETA, has a share ETA feature. And that can give you the option to share your estimated time of arrival with your contacts using Siri. This works with Apple Maps. There were several improvements as well to Siri translation. So that's something that you can still use with Siri for. You can translate text. There are improvements, but it's worth pointing out that there is a new dedicated translate app that works better for kind of conversational translation. There are also some just general improvements in Siri's knowledge. So apparently there's 20 times as many facts available now as there were 3 years ago. So it's always expanding on that. But yeah, one of the most kind of useful features that was brought in, as I mentioned, is audio messaging. So a lot of people who are using Siri will often use Siri to dictate messages. I think I do that myself, and it works very, very, very well. But this could be a really useful alternative to that. It's always good as well, I think, if you ever use Siri to dictate a message and maybe it hasn't been quite interpreted as you'd expected, So I think it improves the accuracy of the message being delivered. Just to very quickly run through the steps, it's quite straightforward. First thing we need to do is to activate Siri. So we launch Siri on your iPhone, either through the home button or whatever button you press on your iPhone, depending on what iPhone you have, or we can just say, hey Siri. And then we say, send an audio message to a contact in your address book. So you say the name of the contact, or you can say a certain number. That's how it works. Next thing Siri will ask us to do is it'll say, okay, recording. So we begin to speak. So Siri will then transcribe a speech, and then it'll stop recording after a moment of silence. So when we stop speaking, then it'll stop the recording automatically. And finally, what we can do is we can tap send or choose play if you want to hear it back. So obviously, if you're a voiceover user, you double tap the send button, or choose play, double tap the play button to hear it back. So we have the option at this point to play it back to make sure it sounds okay, and then we can go over to the send button, and then we can double tap that to send it. Really useful feature. Just a couple of little points. A faster way to use it, obviously, you could say, hey Siri, send an audio message to, and then you say the name of the person on who you want to send a message to. But I should also point out that you can actually send these messages to Android users as well. So it's not just iPhone to iPhone. So if you have an iPhone and you have a friend who's using an Android phone, you can use it as well to send a voice message to them too.
Okay, but it's still running through kind of its own messaging as opposed to through like WhatsApp or something. Is that right?
Yeah, it is indeed. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a nice feature.
Very good. So you don't have to kind of install another app or anything like that.
No, exactly. You don't need to install anything else. Just a feature they've just released. Yeah, in iOS 14.
Yeah, very good. So that's a really handy one in relation to Siri. Yeah. So now I think Daniel has one as well in relation to Windows and using Windows. There's kind of a bit of a problem that sometimes comes up in Windows more recent versions. Daniel, I know you've prepared a video on this, which we'll look at in just a second. What's the issue that sometimes comes up?
Yeah, no, I'm particularly, for somebody who maybe is starting out in Windows or just getting used to it, and as you're going through, let's say, the File Explorer, it could, by accidentally hitting the delete key, it can just delete a file for no reason at all. So, we'll just play the video Sean has laid up there.
thank you for joining me. So today we're going to take a look at the file delete confirmation box in Windows. In the recent versions of Windows, Windows 10, Windows 8, this has been disabled. So if you accidentally were going through File Explorer and you hit off that delete key, you would not know that the message has been moved to the recycle bin. So let's take a look at that.
Folder view list. This PC2 of 22.
So I'm going to scroll down to my test files that I've created here on the desktop.
Team viewer 7. Team view the BFG test file 121 of 22.
And if I hit my delete key, it's just gone to the recycle bin without any warning or message. So just to show you that again.
This PC2 of 20. Team the B test file 221 of 21.
And again, I've been VDA screen reader going here, and again, there's no announcement or anything like that, so your files can be accidentally deleted. So how would you work around this? Well, if we go to our recycle bin
4 of 20,
and I'm just going to go in there and restore the two files that we've deleted.
recycle bin window, items view list, test file 1 not set, ribbon tab control.
So I'm just going to restore all the items back.
Recycle bin dialog. Are you sure that you want to restore all of the items from the recycle bin? Yes button Alt+. Recycle bin window, items view list.
So I've restored the two files that I've deleted and now back on the desktop. So I am going to close my recycle bin.
Desktop list, recycle bin 4 of 22.
And what I'm going to do now is bring up the options for the recycle bin. So I'm going to go Shift F10 on the recycle bin.
Context menu.
And I'm going to go down to the properties.
Open in empty create short rename M properties O.
So I'm going to choose the properties of the recycle bin.
Recycle bin properties dialog. General property page. List. OS. C. Space available. 236 gigabytes 1 of 1.
So that's just telling me that my recycle bin is located on the C drive, the hard drive. But I'm going to tab a couple of times down to a checkbox option.
Setting max display delete confirmation dialog checkbox not checked Alt+D.
So the display delete confirmation dialog box, by default in Windows, this has been left unchecked. And what that means is when we accidentally delete a file, we're not getting saying, are you sure you want to move this file to the recycle bin? So I'm going to simply press space on this.
Checked.
And that checks that box for me. And then we're going to tab down to our OK button. And accept that.
Desktop list. Recycle bin 4 of 22.
So now if I return to my test files here on the desktop and we delete them again, let's see what happens.
Test file 121 of 22. Delete file dialog. Are you sure that you want to move this file to the recycle bin?
So
test file 1 type. Text document size 0 bytes date modified 09/11/2029 availability status available on this device. Yes button Alt+Y.
Okay, so if you can remember the last time when we tapped the delete button, we did not get that confirmation of deleting the file to send it to the recycle bin. So the dialog box now appears, reads out the file name, the type, the size, and the date modified. And we can say yes or no to that. So we are going to say yes to that.
Desktop list. Test file 2 not selected 21 of 21.
And again, I'm going to tap the delete key.
This PC, Daniel done one of this.
Just go back to it
test
again.
file 220. Delete file dialog. Are you sure that you want to move this file to the recycle bin? Desktop list. Unknown.
So, there you have it. That's how to bring back the file delete confirmation dialog box. And if you are not using the screen reader, you can also activate this by simply moving the mouse cursor over the side of the bin.
Recycle context menu. Open O. Empty recycle bin B.
Go to the
Recycle
properties.
bin display delete confirmation dialog.
And make sure that that display delete confirmation dialog box is ticked, and then
Just OK.
OK on that.
Desktop list. Recycle bin 4 of 20.
So thank you very much for joining me today, and that's a little tip on the file deletion confirmation dialog box.
Very good. So that's a really useful tip as well, to be able to make sure that you've got a bit of a safety net there if you're deleting files. Might be something that you kind of expect to see, but if you don't have that coming up, that's a great little tip to use. So a couple of great tips there in relation to using Windows devices or using Siri as well, and we'll have more great quick tips for you from the team next week as well. So don't forget to get in touch. Let us know what you'd like to hear tips about, what sort of what platform that you're using, what devices you're using, and we'll try and adapt our quick tips to what is most useful to you.